What's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be replacing the OEM shift and cup holder trims with AJT Design's shift and cup holder trims on a Toyota Tundra. You can see the after pictures here just to give you an example of what it's going to look like. Why don't we jump in and get started? As we open the box here, you can see I got quite a few accessories from AJT Designs. They packaged it really nicely. This is a battery clamp that I'll be installing in another installation video. Here's what we're after. The shift and cup holder trims. Let's break these out and see what they give us. This goes around the shift column itself. It's an easy installation. It pretty much just snaps in place. I ordered it in matte black, just like the rest of these parts. Here we've got the shifter trim, also in a matte black. And finally the cup holder trim in matte black. While you can pick many different colors off their website, I chose to use red anodized bolts because red is my accent color on my vehicle. Here are the lock washers and the nuts. The first thing you'll want to do is remove the accessory tray from inside your console. Next, we'll remove the shift knob. I'm going to speed this up a little bit just to make things easier on us. Now we need to remove the top of the center console. This was a challenge at first. I tried many different ways to actually pull this apart, doing my best not to scratch anything. I'm going to speed this up just so you guys don't have to watch me struggle. I finally had to break out my trim removal toolkit, but since I have the platinum, this space is covered in leather and I didn't want to damage it. I have a link for the trim removal toolkit down in the description of this video. Finally, I decided to try from the passenger side. It seemed to work out a little bit better because it was plastic against plastic. I was trying to pry this up using the seat. A little bit closer view here so you can see what I did. It started coming apart. Then I just used my hands to pull up. And eventually it popped out. You can find a link in the description for these cup holder accessories. Working on the backside, we can remove the cup holder trim pretty easily by popping all of these chrome tabs. Just push them in and it'll fall right out. Voila! Here you can see how it originally looked. I went ahead and cleaned this up a little bit before moving on. Now we need to set and mark the holes that we need to drill. Place the new cup holder trim onto the console and you'll see the areas that you need to mark. I used a black Sharpie once I got the cup holder trim set in place. Here you can see the final markings. Now we need to drill the holes out. Some of these holes are really close to the manufacturer holes, and so you have to kind of be really careful with the process here. As you can see here, I'm pushing on the drill bit to keep it in place, drilling really slowly, even though this video is sped up right now. I wipe this down a little bit just to keep it clean. I set the new cup holder trim on top just to make sure the holes lined up. And now we can start installing the bolts. I pre-screwed these in before putting the lock washers and the nuts on the other side. We'll speed this up for time's sake. Flip the console over and start installing the lock washers and the nuts. It's a tight space in here, and the bolts might seem like they're not long enough, but they are. Push the bolt head through the top side to get enough thread to screw the nut on. Here's a look of what I ended up with. Lift the console up so you can use the Allen wrench to screw the bolt in through the top side while you hold a nut on the back side. I'll speed this part up a little bit. This is what it looks like from the top once you've screwed everything in. Full disclosure, I wanted you guys to see some of the gaps that this accessory has once installed. Overall, it's a great look and you don't really notice it. Here's what the bolts should look like on the back side. Now we can start installing the shifter trim. Here's a quick before and after, just so you can see what we're going for. Slowly and carefully drill out the plastic holding in the original shifter trim. I'm not going to speed any of the video up here because I want you to see how slow this process is and how slowly I worked not to damage anything. We have to reuse some of these holes, so you want to make sure that you drill everything out very carefully. At times I had to turn the drill sideways to drill out a lot of this plastic that's in the way. Be patient, take your time. You can see here I'm using my hand to kind of hold the drill bit in place as much as possible so it wouldn't move on me. Once those rear three are done, I moved on to the front three. Again, being careful and patient, not to drill through anything I didn't need to. Once I got to a place where I felt like I drilled through enough plastic, I started trying to push that trim piece out. It was stuck in there with a bit of glue because of the leather that Toyota installs. So it's a bit painful and a bit stuck. But eventually, with a little bit more drilling and some pressure, I popped it out. Finally, I decided to remove the piece that this trim is mounted to. It pops out with all these yellow tabs and a single white tab. It's pretty easy to get out, just be really careful not to bend or break any of these tabs. Once I had that piece out, I used a screwdriver to try and break the plastic away from the trim, and finally it started pulling away from the mount. This side was quite a bit more difficult, so I just kept prying until the plastic snapped apart. Once I got that front side loose, the back side came apart pretty easily. There are two tabs in the middle that can kind of fight you a little bit, but they should come undone pretty easily. Once it finally came undone, you can see where the plastic was stuck together in areas that we couldn't drill right on the edge. And this is what it looks like when you're done. Set the new trim piece in place so we can start marking the holes. Here you can see that some of the holes require drilling and some of them do not. Once you've got those holes marked, carefully and slowly use the drill bit to drill them out. Again, I'm not going to slow down the video in this area because I want you to see how slowly I'm working. For this hole, I kind of had to push the drill bit up against the plastic just to kind of etch a hole into it, since there wasn't enough plastic to drill a hole through. Now it's time to check and see if our holes match up or if we need to drill a little bit more. You can see here how quickly your drill can get away from you. Just be really careful. Thank goodness I didn't mess up the leather on this hole. Once again, we'll install the trim just to see where our holes line up and where they don't. And finally, all of our holes are drilled out nice and clean. Now we can start to install the bolts. As I flipped this over, a couple of the bolts fell out because they're loose. That's really no big deal. We'll get them all in there with the lock washers and nuts. Since the space for the washers and nuts is so tight, I found that flipping it on its side and pushing the bolt in through the top while screwing in the washers and nuts helped a lot. Tighten them all down by hand for now, and then we'll use tools to get them nice and tight in a minute. I grabbed a crescent wrench on one side and used the Allen wrench on the other side to tighten these down. Be very careful not to scratch the anodized aluminum bolts. And there we have it. This piece is installed. Again, full disclosure, you can see a little bit of a gap here. Wasn't anything that I could really do about it. You don't really notice it once it's installed in the vehicle. I just want you guys to be able to see what I'm seeing. Time to get this mounted back into the console. Let's clean the console down a bit. Get all those Starbucks crumbs out of there. To get this back in, simply align the clips with the holes and press down. I found that it was easier to flip it over and press from the bottom side up. And here's what both parts look like together. It's pretty nice. And just for comparison, we'll lay the old parts on top so you can see the difference here. It's a drastic difference. The greatest thing about the cup holder not being chrome is the sun doesn't shine in your face every time you look down at the radio or anything like that. This is a shot of the backside of the original shifter trim. Just wanted you to see what it ended up looking like after drilling it and pulling it out, so you know exactly what you're in for. It's always a good idea to clean things up as we go, just because we're not usually pulling these things apart on a regular basis, so it makes it nice when we get back in here next time. Now we can reinstall the top of the console, lay it in at an angle to make sure that the shift lever gets through the hole without scratching anything. Once it sets in place, you should be able just to push down nice and firm and you'll feel those clips snap. Just make sure you got everything perfectly aligned up so you don't pop any of those clips off. Now we can install the shifter gate trim ring. Slide it over the shift lever, lay it in place, and simply press down until it snaps into place in all the corners. Throw your accessories back in place. You can find a link for these guys in the description of this video. They come in many different colors, so you can accessorize the way you want to. Next, carefully slide the shift knob in place and screw it on tight. And here's the final look. It's an awesome ad, makes the console look great, makes your truck look great. Recommend this for everybody. Oh, and one last thing. Can't forget to put the sticker in place. If you enjoyed this video, hit like, hit subscribe, and click that notification bell so you get future updates whenever I upload a new video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.